This is, believe it or not, November, although the weather is very benign at the moment. And I'm here in West Cornwall to see a water vole introduction project, which is running here. What type of work are you undergoing here on this project?
So what we've done here is we've reintroduced 114 water voles around the edge of this lake, and we're also restoring the habitat, so clearing away some of the overgrown willow so that all this lush vegetation around us can start to grow back, which is what the water voles feed on. We came up with the idea several years ago, and it took us a while to get the plans in place and the funding, and then we're going to be monitoring and doing the habitat work as long as we can, really, as well. So it's an ongoing project, really.
What exactly are the water voles' main predator or predators?
There's a few things. The native predators, such as things like barn owls, foxes, maybe otters, will all try and eat them if they can get them. The biggest threat, though, is American mink, which is non-native and was released from fur farms back in the 70s or 60s, and they can actually get into the water vole's burrow and hunt them in there, so they have very little defence, and so they're one of the reasons why water voles became extinct in this area.
You have a number of mink monitoring stations, I suppose, are they?
Yeah, we call them mink rafts, and what they are basically just that, a floating raft which we put at the sides of the lake and streams, and there's a tunnel, and underneath the tunnel there's a clay tablet, and the idea being mink that are inquisitive, so when they're sort of move into an area, they'll find this raft, they'll explore it, they'll walk through it, they'll leave their footprints in the clay, and we should be able to identify them from that.
It's rather unfortunate that these creatures are rather short-lived, but nevertheless the team here are constantly checking and monitoring their holes and their burrows around this lake, and just seeing where and what they are eating, and in fact making the whole environment much more water vole friendly.
Yeah, definitely. Goes quite far around. Like my whole arm.
Did you go that way?
Like round.
Just turned its head round, dipped it on the finger.
So how did you get involved with this particular project?
So I joined the Kernow Conservation kind of team as they were in April 2021. We were just a volunteer group then. And then in September of that same year, I managed to get funding from Mossy Earth to start the water vole reintroduction project here. And that kind of kicked us off into doing a lot of bigger things and growing. And then we became a CIC, so that's a registered community interest company in May last year, well, this year, and we then did the water vole reintroduction in September this year, at least the first part of it. So water voles have a very short lifespan. Most only live about a year because a lot of them die during the winter. They're a very important prey species for a lot of other animals, so their life cycle is probably going to end up with them being eaten. The females have territories, and they hold those territories quite far apart from each other. And they'll have a litter of water voles, baby water voles, annually or multiple times a year. And then those will grow. I think they take about a couple of months to reach adult form, and then they'll spread out and set up their own territories.
This facility is
Yep.
on private land. But is there any way that members of the public could actually come and see some of the work that you do?
Yes, so we hold volunteer days most Saturdays, especially during the autumn, winter and spring here. So in those volunteer days we do a lot of other things like marsh fertility, habitat maintenance, but we can always give people a quick tour of the lake and of this part of the site. Yeah, it probably would be very rare for anyone to actually see a water vole because they're very elusive. We haven't really seen any since the first couple weeks post-release. So yeah, that's